Thank you for attending today. The purpose of this briefing is to announce a series of arrests concerning a major investigation that had been ongoing for the last several months. This investigation has yielded multiple arrests as well as the seizure of large quantities of illegal narcotics, firearms, cash, and vehicles which now have been removed from our city streets. Following the briefing regarding this investigation, there will be an opportunity to speak with the chief concerning the officer-involved shooting during the thwarting of an armed robbery last night. To talk about this more is Chief Cynthia Harriet Sullivan.
Thank you, Investigator Kemp. Good morning, everybody. Efforts like this are important for a few reasons. You know, we know that it has a major impact and a direct impact on the quality of life in our neighborhoods, but we also get a chance to see just how hard everyone has worked on this, the number of people and partners that involved, their willingness to just come to the table and work together to be able to not just bring cases like this to fruition, but put together good quality work that stands up in court. There's so much that goes into this, and I get to see the efforts, the planning, the briefings, just how much Captain Kuhlman, who you're going to hear from in a minute, and his staff put into keeping track of who did what, the different players. It's impressive. And I also want to really thank all the members of his team, his sergeants, coordinators, officers, these case leaders that did a lot of the work and planning. I just can't thank them enough. Also, you know, we've worked quite a bit. Our commitment is on addressing the violence and the issues we've been dealing with in our community, and these sort of things are connected with that as well. You can see for yourself the amount of weapons that are up here and involved. So I know it's all connected, and I know that everybody has a part in this, brings something to the table to help us get cases like this done and closed. I also want to thank the District Attorney's Office for always working with us and supporting us on this. And you know, that's enough from me. I'm going to have Captain Kuhlman come up. This whole case falls under his office's jurisdiction, and he's going to go more in depth and explain to you exactly how this all came to be. So, Captain?
Thank you, Chief. And thank you, everybody, for being here, for taking an interest in the stuff that we have to say about this investigation. This investigation really started on a smaller scale, probably upwards of a year ago. My investigators from the West Side Narcotics team took a real interest in it when they realized that this was potentially a large-scale distribution operation. And over the past few months, things have really ramped up. We've identified a handful of additional people, multiple locations where a probable cause has been developed to execute search warrants. Those search warrants yielded the guns, the drugs that you see on the table spread out here before you. A pretty impressive confiscation, one might say. Over the past few months, realizing the magnitude of what this investigation was, as I said, probable cause was developed to execute search warrants on 28 locations in the city of Rochester. Of those 28 search warrants, 26 people have been arrested and charged with multiple gun and weapon possession offenses. Now, on the 29th of September, we executed search warrants on the bulk of what is really an ongoing investigation and the search warrants that we had. That's a lot. In fact, in the 6.5 years that I've been overseeing Special Investigations Section, that's more places than we've been able to do, or at least that we've attempted to do since I've been around. That's why you have all the people that are here standing behind me, because we needed some help. And one of the things I really want to drive home about this investigation is, although it began here in the city of Rochester with our narcotics teams, we had multiple local, state, and federal agencies that jumped on board and were more than willing to help us out in doing this, and we needed to do it because it has to be done safely. It has to be done safely with the appropriate amount of police officers. We had to have a lot of people for search teams. We had to have ambulances on standby just in case. That's all part of the planning process that goes into one of these operations. So if you'll bear with me, I'd like to recognize some of the people that are here standing behind me from the DA's office. Jennifer Hyatt and Matt Hostein. Chief Drew Forsyth from the Greece Police Department. Chief Fowler from the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. Homeland Security Investigations Buffalo Division Acting Special Agent in Charge Matthew Scarpino. Resident Agent in Charge of the local task force for ATF, Mike Curran. U.S. Marshal of the Western District, Charles Salina. Captain Kevin Riley from the New York State Police. And beyond them is the rest of the command staff who supported this investigation from the onset. So, without getting into too much detail, this is an ongoing investigation. I did want to talk about a couple of the seizures. As I mentioned, we executed 28 search warrants over the course of this investigation, 26 people being charged with various offenses. Seizures, 34 guns in total. You can see them up here on the table. The majority of them are here. 26 of those are illegal handguns. 8 of those are a variety of long guns that you see on display. Cocaine seized, approximately 4.5 kilos. Fentanyl, approximately 2 kilos. 3.5 pounds of marijuana, and cash totaling $148,575. Now, we don't typically do press conferences for all of the work that we do on special investigations, but this is pretty significant. It's significant in that we consider it from a law enforcement perspective a victory to take this much contraband and this many weapons off the street, because 6+ kilos of dangerous narcotics are not going to affect somebody's life by way of an overdose or something else that goes along with the use of those drugs. And we know for sure that these 34 guns that have been confiscated will not be used to further our violence problem in the city of Rochester or beyond. So with that said, I'm going to wrap it up. I wanted to really emphasize what a great job here locally is being done. I wanted to commend my team, WSNT, ESNT, those are our West and East Side narcotics teams. Granite, who helped out with all of this from the very beginning, and all of our local, state, and federal partners. It's an amazing job. It took several months. You want to get it right. You want to do it right the first time. And I'm pleased at where we are with this investigation, and if you have any questions, I'm here ready for them.
Is the department prepared to issue some sort of release that outlines each of the persons who were arrested and the charges they're facing?
That's a good question, and as I mentioned, we are still active with this investigation. That will be something that will occur in the near future, but right now, for reasons of the investigation integrity, we're going to hold on to that information right now.
So as far as prosecuting these individuals, how will you learn more about that?
I'm not sure exactly.
So are we going to learn the names of the individuals?
That is our plan, yes, but I've got to make sure that the DA's office and my investigators are comfortable with where we're at with that, yeah.
Do you know if these will end up as federal charges or state charges?
Great question. All I can tell you right now is that we have not decided on anything like that, but realistically, the best place where we can have a highly prosecutable place, that's where the case will end up, as long as all the partners agree.
Are they in custody, all 26?
No. The majority of the people that we've taken into custody, I don't know the exact number. I feel comfortable with about 5 remain in custody. Everybody else has been afforded bail and has bailed out.
Any idea if all of those warrants and arrests are connected?
Yes, they are. This investigation opened one door, opened another door, all kind of stemming from the same smaller scale investigation that began upwards of a year ago.
How many other individuals are under investigation or looking into?
That's nothing that I can speak to right now. I hope you understand that that has to be kind of kept under wraps for the time being.
Were all the search warrants executed in the city of Rochester, or were there other locations?
There was one that was in the town of Arundequoit, but just outside the city border. Everything else was a city of Rochester location.
How were they able to bail out if he had, whatever the quantity of fentanyl was seized? Isn't fentanyl the more serious charge?
It is. I honestly, I can't answer that question, as some of this stuff was taken from multiple locations, so it depends on what type of product was taken at what particular search warrant. I hope that answers your question.
Can you tell us anything about the 5 individuals that do remain in custody?
No.
Why those individuals are in custody versus?
I really can't.
bail?
No. And I can't because I don't know. It's not something that I've checked into.
Do you think the ones that were released pose any threat, danger?
Could you repeat that question? I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Do you think of the 26 that were released, do they pose any threat or danger to the public?
Well, I think the evidence is up here on the table that the amount of guns that were taken, I would say that anybody that had access to them is potentially dangerous. I don't want to put an opinion out there.
Targeted area.
Meaning?
Were they all sort of in one part of the city, or were most of these people living nearby, in one neighborhood?
Yeah, the bulk of our search warrants were done on the east side of the city, but we definitely had search warrants that were served all across the entire city.
Can you elaborate on the connection everybody had with each other?
No, I cannot.
One door opened another.
No. What I can tell you is that one investigation opens the door to maybe a person, maybe a location that needs a closer look, and then, you know, our investigators, who really are the epitome of professionalism, they take a look at what they've got, consult with people from the DA's office, put strong cases together, and develop probable cause so that we can move on stuff that we feel is a problem and that's contributing to the problems in our city with the drugs and the violence.
Are these people that, like unknowns who have been, continuing to be a problem, like dealing drugs or pushing these drugs through this area for a long time, or what's the history of these people?
Again, you know, that comes with the identity release, and I don't want to get into each individual's background at this point in time. It's all case-sensitive information right now.
Kind of piggybacking off of Jane's question here, if some of these individuals that were arrested and released have a criminal history or could potentially be considered dangerous, is the goal to prosecute them as quickly as possible?
The goal really is to prosecute them properly. We don't want to rush things. We want to make sure that the evidence is intact, that as far as the investigation goes, that we've wrapped it up as tightly as we can so that it is a highly prosecutable case. Regardless of how quickly it moves, we want to do it right. That's more important than anything else. Thank you for the question.
This investigation going? How
It's
much longer
impossible
will
to
it
say.
last?
It's impossible to say.
So was this all based on just one, like, drug trafficking organization, or were there multiple organizations? I mean, you say you arrested 26 people, but can you be a little bit more specific on the connections these people had?
It's a good question, and they are all tied in one way, shape, or form. And no, I cannot get into the specifics of how everybody is interrelated within this investigation. But what I can tell you is that through the work that these investigators have done, everybody that we have developed, or every location that we have developed, has been vetted. It's been a pretty painstaking process to make sure that our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed so that we get it right.
If there is a potential for other individuals to be connected to this operation, or some of the people that were taken into police custody,
It's a good question. I don't know that I can provide an answer for it. Are we going to say that people are not going to see this and not worry that they're next? No. Maybe they will be thinking that they're next. We want to really send a clear message to the citizens of the city of Rochester that we take it seriously. We take gun violence very seriously. We take narcotics trafficking very seriously. And sometimes it takes us a while to build a case, but we listen, we watch, we investigate, and when we can put the pieces together, you see what we can do. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
So we're going to talk a little bit about the officer-involved shooting. So if there are questions on that, obviously, you know, this is early in investigation. It's very fluid. So I'm not going to have a lot of specifics, but I'll give you the most up-to-date information I have. I was going to say, no questions, I'm good.
Oh, no, I was under the impression you were going to give a statement first.
Yeah, I guess where you're at now, I mean, I know you made a statement last night, which
Yeah.
is, you know, kind of a brief,
Right.
you know, at that point, but
Right.
where have you come since then, and what can you tell us at this point?
Sure, and I'll ask for your patience. Obviously, I haven't gotten quite a lot of sleep lately, and this wasn't my plan as I announced my exit, but yeah, it's a part of the job. So we're still waiting for information that would result from the medical examiner's report, those sorts of things. I can tell you that that this did involve a robbery, armed robbery in progress. As it turns out, we did get an initial notify from an employee that managed to get into the back of the store, in one of the storage areas, or you know, something off the floor, and they did call 911, and we were able to at least determine that a manager was being held at gunpoint, and there was some sort of robbery in progress. The police, the officers did respond. There were initially 2 officers that got on scene, and and then once they arrived, I mean, there were employees in the store. There were some customers. So as you look at this, you can imagine you're getting there. You're the officer. You're trying to figure out exactly who's who, and you know, it's difficult at times. So I really want to just kind of acknowledge that and watching the scene play out, that you know, they had a few things they had to consider there. So the officers initially approached, you know, some of the people that were up towards the front of the store, and once it became clear, you know, who that person or subject was, this person ran. He ran. There was a chase that ensued within the store. Shots were fired, and as you know, the subject was deceased at the scene. I can share with you, because again, it's fluid. We're still developing information from this case. I can tell you this all played out in less than a minute. I mean, that's how fast the encounter was. We are, as you know, we have our folks working on the redaction on the video, so we can get that out to you as soon as possible. I can also tell you that this is, again, fluid. These are things we're working on, but this subject that's involved, that we're looking at, that we believe was involved in 3 murders. One was last year and 1 this year. And so, like I said, again, we're waiting on the information from the medical examiner so we can confirm all of that information. But at this point, that's the additional information I have to share with you. so.
Gunfire was exchanged between the officers and the suspect, correct?
Yes, now, but what we have to do, obviously, is, look at the evidence located at the scene. I mean, you all know that it's the Attorney General that's in charge there. And what we've worked out with them is we can give preliminary information at the beginning of the investigation, so you have some idea of what transpired. And then as we move forward and they, move more or further into their investigation, then, they would be the main points of contact on that, so.
Chief,
The suspect.
from what I've been told, the
Mhm.
store has been heavily boarded up with plywood on all its windows and all its doors. Did it make this store an easy target for this suspect? Because can't barely see in or outside. The boards are that high.
Sure, that's certainly something to consider as, someone who's a former crime prevention officer. Those are things I always look at, is what we tell people. You've got to be visible as people are coming up so that you're not such an easy target. But I can tell you that that's something we discussed, but that's standard for us. When we look at a situation like that and we see that there are ways that they can improve their store safety, that, managing crime by, design, environmental design of your space, there's always a follow-up with that. And I can tell you we literally had a discussion this morning about that. So, but certainly that's something we're going to work with Family Dollar on their management staff and see what we can work towards this system.
Can you
Any idea
identify the
how many
suspect?
times that store has been hit recently?
That I'm not sure of. I don't want to tell you and be wrong. I'm not sure. But certainly, if we can confirm that, I'll make sure you have that information. What was your
Are
question,
you
Will?
prepared to identify the suspect at this point?
No, not yet.
And you said he was a
And
suspect?
I want to also clarify that once we do, then we have to be able to notify immediate family. So that takes a little while. So, but I'm not at a point yet where we can confirm the identification.
But you said he was a
Follow-up
suspect
question
in
to
3
what I
murders?
asked. Did it make it difficult for police?
Patrick, can I
We-
get my question first, please?
Let's not fight, folks.
Suspect in
What
3 murders?
what I want to do is confirm it, and so we want to confirm, and then we want to let family know, and then we will put it out there and let you know. That's not something we're going to want to hold on to any longer than we need to. So as soon as we're able to, we'll release it to you. That I can assure you. Yes.
Did the boarding make it difficult for the police once they arrive? The boarding up of the windows and doors?
I would imagine. We had an incident a few days ago where officers were trying to take someone into custody for a domestic incident, and the person involved in that, and the subjects, really fought with the officers on that. And I can tell you from experience, it's probably one of the worst feelings in the world, is that you're going to something, that they're involved in something major, your colleagues, and you don't know exactly what's going on. It's a very scary feeling. I would put it in a terrifying category. So to get there, and if some of your view's obstructed because of boarding, it's just a bad feeling. That's the best way I can describe it to you. It's terrifying. And so, but that's certainly another reason we want to work with Family Dollar to just make sure it's not just about the officers, but also their staff. And we want everybody to be safe. My heart goes out to the people who were in the store, the employees. It was terrifying for them, I'm sure, and also for the customers who didn't quite know right away what was going on. It's a scary thing, and then to hear the shots, I can only imagine what they were going through. So,
Can you give us, go ahead. Erica.
Oh, sorry. Can you speak to the number of officer-involved shootings this year, 2021? Why this year there's more than compared to past? I mean, speak to the environment or desperation. Like, what is causing these measures?
there are, a couple of different reasons for that. Researchers, experts have different opinions on it. I've spoken to my colleagues. You've met some of them this morning, other chiefs. But I can tell you that it's not just us. It's not just Rochester. This is something that's going on around the country. I've never seen anything like it. And so I don't know, but don't quote me on being the source, on the correct information, but I look at things like the parole, probation, bail, you know, are we at a point where normally people with violent histories would be in custody and they're not? Remember, they were dealing with issues around the pandemic, with COVID, and I know, and you know, I could understand that they were looking at ways that, you know, there are folks you could put out of custody. You know, I don't know. Look at what the school district's dealing with. One of the things that Sean Helms, who's over the East High School project, I mean, I know him, is very sharp man, cares deeply about the kids, and really works hard on the work that they do over there. But he had reached out to me, and we're going to talk about what we can do to help. But he said that you've got some incidents that have occurred over the course of the pandemic, this past 18, 20 months, and you've got youth who maybe one's relative, cousin, brother, sibling may have been injured or shot or killed by the relative of another youth in that school. And after all this time has passed, they're seeing each other for the first time. So the trauma's all there. You know, they're suddenly put back in this building together, and so how do we deal with that conflict? And so obviously we're going to do what we can to help with that. But the major thing to keep in mind is that it's not just limited to Rochester. I mean, everybody's dealing with it. I have friends who've been chiefs for years around the country, and you know, I'm calling them to say, what do you have going on? What, you know, how are you dealing with it? Well, we're all seeing the similar problems and issues, and just a reminder that that's why one of the reasons I left law enforcement was I wanted to have a bigger hand in getting at the causations behind things like that, so that we didn't always focus on the police as the answer to all of these issues. But if it is in fact, you know, maybe we need to revisit how we put certain policies into place. So I'm working with some citizens that are helping me look at the bail reform. I don't know of any chief, myself included, that objects to nonviolent people who've gotten themselves into some trouble being released. I support it 100%, and I continue to support that. But one of the things we're seeing also, for example, if where domestic violence is involved, if you've got someone who's been arrested for assaulting or beating up their partner, and if they're not held, and then they come out and they commit another assault, and the process in place now does not give judges the authority to keep somebody in custody because the behavior will continue. What I'm saying is, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We know bail reform has some positives, but let's fix the gaps in the process. And to me, quite frankly, it's not rocket science. I mean, we know what the issues are. Let's fix that, and then and see what we come up with as far as having an impact on that. So,
without naming the suspect, which you have already said you can't do, can you
Yep.
give us any identifiers, age range, sex, race, anything?
I believe he's in his 30s-ish, yeah. But, you know, other than that, I mean, I know that's not a lot of information, but like I said, we don't want to withhold it from you. We want to get that information out as soon as possible. Also, you guys know Officer Carlos Alvarado on my staff. One of the reasons I put him in that role is that we want to make an effort to find different ways we can be transparent when issues like this happen. He and I worked on that Remington Street critical incident video together. Those are the kinds of things that I wanted to bring to fruition, that we can get those out to the public. And it's not just us telling you all and the public what happened. We're able to show you as much as possible. Then you can see for yourselves, the public can see, and then we can come to a bigger understanding about what's going on out there. So certainly we're going to work on one for this incident as well, but obviously it's got to be when we can release certain information, identities. It's got to be redacted, and we've got to make sure, families are aware. So those are all the things we have to get through before we can bring that to the public.
Sorry, Chief.
That's right.
Is it your belief that the suspect fired first at officers and then the officers returned fire?
I'm not gonna, I can't say that until and that's a very tedious process to go through that scene, to look at the evidence, to see where, the round struck and be able to clarify where the direction came from. That's a tedious process, so I'm not even gonna speculate on that.
Well, it's accurate to report that officers were fired upon.
Well, I can tell you shots were fired by the subject, by the officers. That I can confirm, but anything beyond that, I'm speculating. And, give us a chance to get through the evidence and the information, and we'll certainly, like I said, a lot of times I may do a data dump, but I'm right off the bat, I'm going to give you whatever I can, and then anything else, I just can't, and I just won't give it to you, but I will as soon as I'm able to. So,
what's the likelihood we'll get any sort of video or identification at some point today?
I can't confirm that today. I can tell you right now our folks are working on redaction, and how video is. We've got first of all, also do our best to make sure we've done a family notify. I mean, think about it. It's, if you've got a loved one, even if it's redacted, it's out there, and then you find out that your family member that way. We really want to avoid that whenever possible. I think maybe once we kind of had to put something out there because it was so difficult to identify someone, or it took a lot longer to try to be able to find family. But that's always going to be our goal, to try to let family know first before we do something like that. So.
Any other serious incidents at this particular store that RPD has been involved in?
That's certainly possible, but nothing comes to mind for me immediately on that. I mean, I give kudos to Family Dollar. They work hard to stay in the neighborhoods and make sure that our community, even those who are poor or don't have transportation and have to walk, have options. So, obviously we want to work with them to make sure they're able to run their businesses, but also do it in a way that's safe for their employees and also for community members. So we'll see, but they've been good partners. If there are things we need to work on, like we talked a little bit earlier about the how they've boarded the store and the visibility, we'll certainly work with them and see what we can do as far as offering some safe options, because that's part of our job, is to work with them and understand that they're running a business, but also understand they want to do it in a way that's safe for their staff, customers, and the neighborhood. So,
What's the
okay.
most accurate way, just to clarify what you said about this suspect being potentially wanted for 2 or 3 murders? You said that, but then, I don't know, backtrack on that? I want to
No.
make sure it's accurate. Can you say exactly how you want that reported?
Yeah, I can tell you that the subject who's deceased in the Family Dollar store incident, is a suspect in 3 murders. One that took place last year, one took place this year. And that as soon as we can confirm information and notify family, then we will let you know as soon as
When
possible.
that other murder is? You said last year, this year, and you said 3 murders.
Was one a double
Yeah,
homicide?
I knew you'd press me for dates. Around June-ish. Yeah. No, I'm not going to specify any more than that, because, like I said, I want to.
You said 1 last year and 1 this year, but
Yes.
you said 3 murders.
Those are the incidences, but a total of 3 people were killed.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
one
does
was-
that answer
one-
your
one was a
question?
double homicide then?
Don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure, but like I said, this is fluid, and we gotta confirm, things and what's happening. So, like I said, I promise you, as soon as we can confirm that, I will let you know. So, thanks, everybody. Yep, take care.